Time to sing and turn off the sound. There we go. So that you can hear it. And I'll hold it up for you and you'll all be in chime out with me. I love this chime. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone, one and all. You know, I was very inspired this week by our Sangha member, one of our Sangha members who was sharing about their experience, especially with respect to denial. And so yesterday I shared with everybody a list of synonyms for denial, a list of synonyms for what it means to be defensive as well. And my purpose for bringing forward synonyms is because these concepts, these ideas, we have a propensity to just look at them from one direction. You know, the direction that we were taught, the direction that we know, we've been sort of conditioned to believe. And yet when we open up and we begin to practice, we realize that a single concept has many different entry points for exploration. So take, for instance, this mug. If you're only looking at it from this side, you don't get to see that there's a little logo on this side. And so your point of view, your perspective is just this, and that for you makes up the whole idea of this mug. However, it is a missed perception. And so these practices invite us in a very gentle way to humble and open ourselves to the idea of, oh, you know, there might be more here. This view is true. It's got a blank black view. That is true. That is this side of the mug. However, is it the truth? Because there's this side. And I'm not going to show you this side because then I'd spill all my coffee. And then that would make me grumpy. And I'd probably blame all of you if I'm not practiced. And then there's this side, which has all my coffee in it. So there's so many ways of looking at one thing, and this practice helps us open up to that, helps us, more importantly, be curious about it. And curiosity really is an antidote, a friend in many ways to our defensiveness, to our denial. Because when we're defensive, we're usually focused on self-protecting, fixated on shielding, armoring one thing we believe in. It's too hard to think of it from another point of view. So we're just defending our example. And that's why it's the mantra of, well, that's true, is really important. And it's not the whole truth. So let's come back and let's take a deep breath today. And as we settle into this reflection, I'd like to bring your attention to my altar today. And this altar is for all of our brothers and sisters, all the living beings, the trees and the earth itself, the insects and squirrels and raccoons and deer, all the precious mementos and memories that have been burned to the ground in California. There is a beautiful bowl here of water. May everyone who is suffering the ravages of fire be blessed with the healing and purifying waters. May these healing waters mix with tears of grief to resurrect the spirit of resilience. I have some stones here that are stacked, and these represent the foundation of our power, the strength of Mother Earth to hold us, to help us heal, to infuse our sense of spirit, our mind, our hearts with that tenacity to keep going, to weather the storms, to stand before the howling winds and be undeterred, and to have the courage to be with misery and unfathomable loss. I've also included this sculpture that my daughter made, and it's a nose. I'll hold it up. I love this sculpture. Look at that. Isn't that a great nose? And I love it for a number of reasons. One is, who makes a nose? My kid does. She's made feet, and this nose. And I kept thinking, what are we going to do with this nose? And I just knew something would come, and today's the day. And the reason why I have this nose here, friends, is because fire smells bad. And fire lives in our nostrils. We've had fires on my farm, by my farm, and it's extraordinary to me that when I get just a hint, a whiff of fire, the fear, the anxiety, the where's the fire comes through. So people in California are going to be smelling this for a long time, that the memory of loss that they'll inhale and exhale is profound. It's dangerous. There's a lot of things that are burning that are dangerous and toxic. So it's an extraordinary event. It's just absolutely gut-wrenching. And so I'd like to bring forward our olfactory sense. It's one of the foundations of mindfulness, the body. And I really want to invite us as a community that if you have the capacity today to inhale scents that are sweet, scents that are spicy and warming, floral scents, if you're somewhere in the world where it's tropical and there's an earthy sense, the smell of water extinguishing the fires, that's a very unique smell. If you're somebody who has had COVID, long-term COVID, and your sense of smell is really off, come into the awareness of your olfactory sense and bring it into your mind and your body, and recognize that people all over the world, people specifically in California, are having to endure smells that carry great loss and grief. The inhalation and the exhalation, may it be infused with peace, with love, with connection, with strength. Yesterday, I brought forward the idea of being in denial. And one of the things on the journey of recovery is that we have this propensity, it's not just in recovery, it's sort of a propensity of being human, really, is to focus on a concept and exaggerate its definition, distort its definition, to forget there's another side to the perspective. So, for instance, when we are on the journey of recovery, many people in recovery deny the degree of their substance use and its negative effects. And so in recovery circles and in recovery realms, the word denial is heavily laden with negativity. Oh, you're in denial. There you go again. Your denial's acting up. But there's another side to this concept. And we can use the example of the fires in LA as the counterpart to denial, the aspect, the action of denial that actually keeps our psyches protected, because what we're having to face, what we're having to bear witness is too much. I cannot see it. I don't have the tools to stand before it. I can't believe it's happening. And maybe if I wanted to look, I mean, really, I had that aspiration. I want to see, I want to be with this devastation. I can't be. Something that's sort of beyond my control, something beyond my mind, something beyond my heart, something within my unconsciousness is not allowing me to be fully present. Maybe it's an inner wisdom trying to protect me. And so to be able to acknowledge, oh yeah, I can't look at this right now. It's too much. It will inhibit my ability to function. I will fall into a pit of despair. I have a friend whose husband and 2 children died from cancer. And when her daughter was dying, after her husband had died, after her son had died, and her daughter had already survived 1 cancer and was dying from a secondary cancer, she said to me, "Julia, I've been here before. I know what dying from cancer looks like. I've witnessed it intimately more than once. And yet, when I was staring at my daughter dying, I just couldn't believe it was true." And that is one of the paradoxes, that's one of the contradictions that happens in denial, is we know it's there and we can't believe it's happening. And so returning this to recovery and taking it into our own hearts and minds. If we haven't cultivated, let me make this first person. If I haven't cultivated the ego integrity, the strength to stand before my misdeeds, to really acknowledge my unskillfulness, it may be too much for my own psyche to bear. I may feel so much shame that suddenly my ego, that immature ego, starts concocting narratives and stories that I'm worthless. I'm unsalvageable, irredeemable, undeserved. And with those narratives harping in the back of my mind, it's so hard to look. It's so hard to be honest and say, I did that. I was so unskillful in my actions. I engaged in this habit energy to such a degree that I caused harm to myself and people I loved. I lost myself. I burned my life to the ground. And I don't know how to rebuild. I don't know where to begin. So I'm just going to deny the depth of the destruction, because that's all I know how to do. And as an action to that, we get defensive. I get defensive. Somebody comes to me and says, Julia, I'm really worried about you. Or, Julia, I am really pissed off at you. What you did was terrible. You should be ashamed of yourself. I am like the Batmobile. I guarantee you, like the Batmobile. I don't feel safe. I certainly am not going to trust this person with my vulnerability. I am not going to open up, not even at all. Shields up. And I'm going to defend myself. But behind all that armor, behind that fortressed wall, I'm also doing something that not everyone can see. And that is, I'm building a prison of isolation. The wall of defense that I am creating is a wall of self-imprisonment. I hold the key, I hold the lock. The most extraordinary gift that we have to start deconstructing with intentionality are these ancient tools. One of them is the Four Noble Truths. I am suffering in my self-imprisonment, in my notions of isolationism. And you know what? That's being human. Everybody suffers in some way or another. We cannot escape it. And there are many reasons for suffering, not just my own doing. There's ancestral legacy that I carry in my bones. It breathes in my cells. I have karma from past lives, if that's something that you believe in. The Buddhist tradition is that karma from past lives resurrects and ripens in this life. And if we're not paying attention, it can continue to water seeds of negative karma, or we can awaken and begin to amend the soils of our own minds and hearts and plant new seeds of karmic beginning. We all have, each of us, me included, are reminded in the Buddhist teachings that we have extraordinary wisdom. Our nature is good. It really is. Our nature is magnificence. We've simply layered it. Sands of time have covered up our natural-born treasure. And so we have the capacity to unearth this treasure, to unearth our understanding of these conditions that cause us so much pain, and begin to bring in harmony and experience harmony. And it's simply a practice, and the practice has to be engaged with others who are able to practice with us. That's why the Sangha is a jewel in the Buddhist worldview. We cannot do this practice with just anyone, especially when we're new and vulnerable. If we do, We're setting ourselves up for maybe some additional pain. And that can be a good bad thing. Because when I have gone to people who I thought were skilled, I thought were practiced, and I revealed my wound, and I had that expectation that they would have the capacity to offer me some kind of salve. And then I was surprised they weren't. I was disappointed. But you know what? That's on me. Ugh. Ooh. There's the teaching. Ugh, there I go again with my expectations. Ooh, what can I learn? I didn't see this person clearly. I placed expectations that might have been fair, maybe not, maybe it was some distortion. And at the end of the day, they let me see them. They let me see that they don't have the capacity for that. Well, okay, I don't have to judge them. I just simply take my arm back, take my wound back, and I take care of myself, or I find someone else. Clear. No distortions. And we practice over and over and over again. Breathing in. It is human nature to suffer, to experience sorrow and loss. It is human nature to also have varying capacities to bear witness to that. It is also human nature to access our wisdom and grow and strengthen this capacity so that we become instruments of peace. We become nurturers of loving kindness, compassion, joy, freedom. We do this for the benefit of ourselves and one another. Breathing in the sorrow, the struggle, breathing out strength, resilience, presence. Breathing in, breathing out.